December 2nd, 1993. Pablo Escobar hears boots thundering up his stairs. The man who murdered 4,000 people, bombed an airliner with 110 passengers, and offered to pay Colombia's entire $10 billion national debt is about to die barefoot on a stranger's roof. 3 death squads are converging on his location. CIA satellites track his heat signature. His last bodyguard just took 3 bullets to the skull. 14 minutes ago, Pablo made the mistake that killed him. He answered his son's phone call. His security protocol demanded 30 seconds maximum. At 2 minutes, search block locked his signal. At 5 minutes, they triangulated his neighborhood. At 14 minutes and 23 seconds, they had his exact address. Here's what changes everything. Someone inside Pablo's organization told his hunters exactly when he'd break protocol for his son. They knew Pablo couldn't hang up on a crying child. They knew which phone he'd answer. They knew he'd die protecting the only thing that still mattered. The 7th richest man in history, killed by love for his family. Who sold Pablo's location from inside? And why did his own sicarios want him dead? Before Pablo Escobar became the nightmare keeping presidents awake, he discovered something in a Medellin cemetery that would determine everything. Dead people are worth more than living ones. 14-year-old Pablo, standing among tombstones at 2 a.m. with a crowbar, did the math. 1 stolen headstone, names sandblasted off, resold for 5,000 pesos, around $500 from today. 3 nights of grave robbing earned more than his father made in 6 months. But Pablo noticed something disturbing. The cemetery guard, supposedly there to stop thieves like him, was actually selling him information about fresh burials, which meant one thing: the entire system was already criminal. Pablo just wasn't getting his cut yet. The moment that created the future drug lord happened, May 14th, 1974. 16-year-old Pablo, caught stealing a Renault 4, sits in a Medellin police station facing 5 years in prison. Officer Luis Fernando Gomez walks in, closes the door, and says 7 words that change history. "I know who your real father is." Pablo's face goes white. The secret Gomez threatens to reveal would destroy Pablo's family. So Pablo makes his first real deal: 50,000 pesos cash, plus 1,000 pesos monthly for life. Gomez accepts, but here's what changes everything. Pablo records the negotiation on a tape recorder hidden in his jacket. From that moment forward, Officer Gomez doesn't just work for Pablo, he belongs to him. Within 6 months, Pablo owns 14 Medellin police officers through similar blackmail. He films them taking bribes, records their confessions, and documents their crimes. By age 20, he's not paying protection money, he's collecting it. Cops tip him off about raids. Judges warn him about warrants, and prison guards smuggle messages. The teenage cemetery thief has discovered the ultimate business model. Don't avoid the law, buy it. But Pablo's about to learn that one honest man can destroy an empire of corruption, and that man is already watching him. Young Pablo's reputation spreads through a single incident that still terrifies witnesses 40 years later. November 3rd, 1975. Local trafficker Diego "the Beard" Montoya kidnaps Pablo's cousin Gustavo, demanding 3 million pesos ransom. Pablo doesn't negotiate. He doesn't even call the police. He walks into Montoya's compound alone, unarmed, during Montoya's daughter's quinceañera celebration. 200 guests watch Pablo approach Montoya, whisper something in his ear, then calmly walk out. Within 10 minutes, Montoya releases Gustavo and flees Colombia forever. But what did Pablo whisper? According to Montoya's widow, Pablo said, "I've already killed your mother. She's in the trunk of your car. You have 10 minutes to check and run, or watch me kill your daughter next." Montoya's mother was actually safe at home, but those 10 minutes of terror taught Medellin's underworld a lesson. Pablo Escobar would do things others only threatened. But the cocaine opportunity doesn't come from violence. It comes from a math error. In September 1970, Pablo, watching smuggler Fabio Restrepo count money, notices him miscalculating profits. 1 kilo of paste costs $350 in Peru. Restrepo sells it for $4,000 in Medellin. He thinks that's 10 times profit. But Pablo sees further. That same kilo, processed and shipped to Miami, returns $40,000. That's a 114x profit. Restrepo is leaving 90% of potential money on the table. When Pablo points this out, Restrepo laughs. "You think anyone can just fly cocaine to America?" Pablo doesn't laugh back. He's already calculating how many planes he'll need. Within 6 months, Restrepo is dead, and Pablo controls his routes. But controlling routes isn't enough. Pablo needs something bigger, a system that makes him irreplaceable. The transformation accelerates through an accidental discovery. Pablo's pilot crashes in Panama with 600 kilos of cocaine, and local authorities seize everything. Pablo expects total loss. Instead, General Manuel Noriega contacts him personally. "For 10% of every shipment, I'll guarantee safe passage through Panama." Pablo realizes the implications immediately. If he can buy Panama's government, why not Colombia's? If he can own one general, why not entire armies? At 26, standing over a map of Latin America, Pablo makes the prediction that sounds insane. "Within 5 years, I'll control more power than any government in South America." His cousin Gustavo thinks he's joking. The terrifying part? Pablo's underestimating himself. But first, someone needs to die, someone powerful. Someone whose death will announce to the world that Pablo Escobar has arrived. Who does Pablo choose as his declaration of war? The meeting that creates the monster happens June 6, 1978. But there's a hidden recorder under the table, placed by someone who will later become Pablo's greatest enemy. At Carlos Later's coastal ranch, Pablo proposes something revolutionary. Instead of competing, the traffickers should incorporate, share routes, share planes, and share bribes, create a cocaine monopoly. Jorge Luis Ochoa agrees immediately. His brothers Fabio and Juan David nod along. But José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, El Mexicano, asks the question that changes everything. Who decides who lives and who dies? Pablo's answer chills the room with a simple sentence: "I do." Within 3 years, that answer will be true. By 1982, Pablo's system generates impossible numbers. Every 72 hours, a King Air 200 leaves Colombia, carrying 1,000 kilos of pure cocaine. Pablo owns 15 aircraft, but here's the genius. He charges other traffickers to use his routes. Every competitor becomes a customer. He's not just trafficking cocaine, he's franchising the entire business model. The math explodes. $60 million daily by 1984, $420 million weekly by 1985. But Pablo discovers cash has weight, literally. $1 million in 20s weighs 110 pounds. By 1986, Pablo's operation handles 40,000 pounds of cash monthly. That's when the real problem starts. Roberto Escobar, Pablo's brother and accountant, can't count money fast enough. They resort to weighing it. $1 million in mixed bills weighs exactly 22 pounds. But storage becomes critical. Pablo buries $800 million in plastic barrels across Colombia. Except tropical humidity destroys bills within months. Rats eat through another $100 million annually. When Roberto reports losing $2.1 billion to decomposition, Pablo shrugs. Write it off. It's only 10% of gross. But someone's been watching those burial sites, mapping every location, waiting for the perfect moment to dig them up. Subscribe now. Because what Pablo does with his fortune doesn't just change Colombia. It rewrites the rules of power itself. The Robin Hood campaign starts with calculation, not kindness. Pablo builds Barrio Pablo Escobar, 450 homes for Medellin's homeless. But here's what nobody mentions. He films every family receiving keys, records their names, their children's names, their gratitude. These aren't gifts. They're 450 families who now owe Pablo their lives. When police come asking questions, these families see nothing. When Pablo needs crowds for rallies, 450 families appear instantly. He's not buying loyalty, he's manufacturing an army disguised as charity. The 70 soccer fields he builds? Each one includes hidden storage rooms for cocaine. The basketball courts? built over tunnel systems. Every gift has teeth. But Pablo's political ambitions trigger his first real mistake. March 1982. He wins election as alternate congressman, making him technically immune from prosecution. He attends one session of Congress, sits in the back row and says nothing. But Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla notices something odd. Pablo's tax returns claim he earns money from bicycle rental shops, yet he arrived in a helicopter. Lara investigates, and on August 16, 1983, Lara stands before Congress holding Pablo's 1976 arrest record for drug trafficking. In 30 seconds, Pablo goes from congressman to criminal. The humiliation burns worse than any bullet would. Pablo offers Lara $5 million to retract his accusations, but Lara refuses. Pablo increases to $10 million, but Lara still refuses. On April 30th, 1984, sicarios spray Lara's Mercedes with machine gun fire. 7 bullets tear through the minister. Within 72 hours, DEA agents land in Bogota with a secret weapon Pablo can't buy, can't threaten, can't kill. Satellite surveillance that can read license plates from space. But Pablo has his own secret weapon, and it's about to turn Colombia into a war zone. What order does Pablo give that makes hardened killers vomit? Why do his own sicarios start refusing certain jobs? And who is the mysterious doctor who teaches Pablo how to build bombs that kill everyone except the intended target? November 27th, 1989. 5 minutes before Avianca Flight 203 explodes, a passenger calls his wife. Something's wrong. 2 men just ran off the plane claiming mechanical problems, but the crew says everything's fine. The line goes dead at 7:13 a.m. At 13,000 feet, Eduardo Martinez, Pablo's bomb maker, has rigged 5 kilos of Semtex plastic explosive inside a Samsonite briefcase. The detonation tears the Boeing 727 in half. 107 people die instantly, including 2 Americans, which makes Pablo Escobar the DEA's top priority worldwide. But here's what Pablo doesn't know. Cesar Gaviria, his intended target, canceled his reservation that morning. Pablo just murdered 107 innocent people for nothing. The mathematics of terror follows a formula. Pablo perfects. For every official who refuses bribes, 7 people around them become targets. Judge Gustavo Zuluaga rejects Pablo's money. His father dies January 10th. His brother dies January 18th. Then his wife in January 26th. And finally, Zuluaga himself dies February 3rd. By 1989, Pablo's sicarios have murdered 657 police officers, 47 judges, 3 presidential candidates, 1 attorney general, and 1 justice minister. But the number that terrifies Colombia most is smaller, 12. That's how old Pablo's youngest sicario is. Children who kill for 50,000 pesos per victim, around $3,000. 1 month's wages for a murder that takes 3 seconds. But Pablo's most terrifying weapon isn't violence, it's precision. He maintains files on every government official, their routines, their mistresses, their children's schools, their mother's medical conditions. Prosecutor Monica Delgado discovers Pablo knows she visits her father's grave every Sunday at 3 p.m. She finds fresh flowers there with a note. These could have been for you. General Miguel Maza's daughter receives birthday presents from Pablo for 3 years, each gift more expensive than the last. The message is clear. I know everything about you. I can reach anyone you love, and I'm patient enough to wait years for revenge. The Palace of Justice Siege. November 6, 1985, reveals Pablo's true capacity for horror. He pays M19 guerrillas $2 million to storm Colombia's Supreme Court, specifically targeting judges reviewing extradition cases. But the real plan is darker. As military forces surround the building, Pablo's sicarios set fires on upper floors, forcing hostages to choose between burning or jumping. 11 Supreme Court justices die, but not from guerrilla bullets or army crossfire. They burn alive while Pablo listens on radio frequencies, counting each scream. The terror campaign peaks with a psychological operation that breaks Colombia's spirit. Pablo announces, "The lottery of death. Every Friday, He'll randomly kill 10 police officers in different cities. By week 6, police refuse to wear uniforms. By week 10, entire precincts call in sick. The government begs for negotiations, and Pablo agrees, but with one condition that changes everything. He wants to build his own prison. Not visit one, not choose one. Design and construct one from scratch. What the government doesn't know is that Pablo has already picked the location, already drawn the blueprints, and already knows which guards he'll hire. He's not surrendering, he's upgrading. The moment Colombia realizes it's been fooled comes during a live television broadcast. June 14, 1990. Presidential candidate Cesar Gaviria promises to extradite every trafficker to America. One day later, June 15th, Pablo's lawyers deliver a video to news stations. It shows 23 kidnapped journalists chained in a basement. Pablo's voice, disguised but unmistakable, delivers an ultimatum. Colombia has 48 hours to guarantee no extradition, or I execute 2 hostages every day until you comply. The timer starts. Hour 1 passes, hour 12, hour 24. And at hour 36, Congress convenes an emergency session. At hour 47, they vote to ban extradition from the Constitution. Pablo has literally terrorized democracy into surrender. But someone in that congressional session takes notes on every politician who voted yes, building a file that will later destroy Pablo's empire. Who is taking these notes? And why does Pablo's closest ally secretly want him dead? June 19, 1991, the helicopter carrying Pablo Escobar to prison makes an unscheduled stop. Pablo demands the pilot land at a specific coordinate. Colombian officials panic. Is this an escape? Instead, Pablo steps out, kneels on a hillside, and plants a small flag in the soil. "This is where you'll bury me," he tells guards. "Remember this spot." 7 miles away sits La Catedral, Pablo's personally designed prison. But Pablo knows something nobody else does. He's already planned his escape. The tunnel is already dug, the guards are already bribed, and this entire surrender is theater. 10 days into imprisonment, Pablo executes his real plan. He invites Colombia's top traffickers to La Catedral for a peace summit. 22 drug lords arrive, thinking they're negotiating territory. Instead, Pablo presents detailed files on each of them. Their routes, their suppliers, and their bankers. "You now work for me," he announces. "Same business, but I take 30% of gross. Refuse, and these files go to the DEA tomorrow." Nobody refuses. In one afternoon, Pablo transforms from fugitive to CEO of every Colombian trafficking operation. He's making more money in prison than he ever did free. But July 3, 1992, Pablo makes the mistake that destroys everything. 2 lieutenants, Fernando Galeano and Gerardo Moncada, arrive carrying $20 million in cash, tax payment to Pablo. But Pablo's paranoia has grown malignant. He believes they're shorting him. In La Catedral's game room, with guards watching television nearby, Pablo produces a clothes iron and extension cord. What happens next is so savage that hardened sicarios vomit. Pablo doesn't just kill Galeano. He tortures him for 6 hours, burning patterns into his skin while demanding confession to theft that never happened. Moncada watches his partner die inch by inch before sicarios hang him from the soccer goal. The bodies are cut into pieces small enough to burn in the pizza oven. The horror leaks through a guard's girlfriend who overhears him crying about what he witnessed. President Cesar Gaviria faces a choice: admit the government has lost control entirely, or storm the prison and risk Pablo's threatened retaliation. On July 21st, Gaviria makes his decision. 400 soldiers surround La Catedral with orders to transfer Pablo immediately. But Pablo's not worried. He's been expecting this for months. The tunnel exit is 200 meters beyond the perimeter. His men are already waiting with vehicles. What Pablo doesn't know is that someone inside his inner circle has provided the army with tunnel blueprints. In 3 hours, he'll be running for his life. But first, he makes a phone call that seals his fate. 9:27 p.m. Dense fog covers Mount Cathedral. Pablo calls his mother, Hermilda. "I'm leaving now. If I don't call within 6 hours, assume I'm dead." His mother begs him to surrender legitimately. Pablo laughs. "They don't want me in prison, Mother. They want me in a grave." He hangs up, opens his closet's hidden panel, and enters the tunnel with 8 men. They crawl 200 meters through darkness, emerging in forest beyond army lines, in freedom. Except Pablo doesn't see the infrared cameras the DEA installed yesterday. His exact exit point is being watched by an eye in the sky he can't imagine exists. From this moment forward, Pablo Escobar will never be truly alone again. Every phone call monitored, every movement tracked, every ally questioned. But the real threat isn't technology. It's the group forming in the shadows, led by someone who knows Pablo's every secret. Who are Los Pepes? Why do they know things only Pablo's family should know? And what causes Pablo's own mother to curse his name before she dies? The photo that starts Pablo's destruction was taken at his daughter's 9th birthday party. July 24th, 1992, 2 days after his escape. Pablo, desperate to maintain family traditions, risks visiting Manuela. Hidden photographers capture him hugging her. Within hours, Los Pepes has copies. They don't just study Pablo in the image, they identify every person in the background. Every cousin, every friend, every child at that party becomes a target. The systematic execution begins immediately. Carlos Alzate, Pablo's cousin, dies first. On August 3rd, it's found with his eyes carved out and a message. Pablo watches his family die blind. Maria Gonzalez, who catered the party, is burned alive in her restaurant. Diego Murillo, whose son attended, discovers his child's school uniform on his doorstep filled with bullet holes, a warning that turns him into an informant. Within 6 months, Los Pepes kills 187 people who appeared in birthday party photographs. Pablo's world shrinks from thousands of allies to 5 terrified bodyguards who know they're dead men walking. But here's what terrifies Pablo most. Los Pepes knows things nobody should. They find safe houses he bought under false names. They identify accounts he opened in his mother's maiden name. They intercept messages using codes only his brother Roberto understands. Someone in Pablo's inner circle, someone he trusts completely, is feeding Los Pepes everything. Pablo grows so paranoid, he makes his own men take polygraph tests. He executes 2 bodyguards for failing questions about loyalty. But the traitor keeps transmitting information. The technology hunting Pablo is beyond his comprehension. Centra Spike, the NSA's secret surveillance plane, circles Medellin at 20,000 feet, invisible to radar. It can intercept any radio frequency, decrypt any phone scrambler, pinpoint any electronic emission within 100 meters. Every time Pablo keys a radio, types on a computer, or dials a phone, Centra Spike knows. The DEA feeds coordinates to search block in real time. Pablo thinks he's hiding in Medellin's urban maze. He's actually trapped in an electronic cage that shrinks every time he communicates. November 26th, 1993. Pablo makes the error that begins his final countdown. His son, Juan Pablo, denied refuge by every embassy, calls crying about being trapped in Colombia. Pablo stays on the phone 8 minutes, 7 minutes longer than his security protocol allows. He promises to arrange German visas, swears they'll reunite by Christmas. Centra Spike triangulates the call to a 6-block radius in Los Olivos neighborhood. Search block floods the area. Pablo escapes, but barely. He leaves behind his favorite pistol and a notebook containing his last will and testament. He knows they're closing in. December 1st, Pablo's 44th birthday. He's hiding in a middle-class row house, down to 1 bodyguard, Alvaro Limon Agudelo. No parties, no cake, no visitors. Just Pablo listening to a transistor radio, hearing the government offer $6 million for information leading to his capture. He laughs bitterly. He once spent that much on a single party. Now he can't even call his mother. Government agents surround her house day and night, recording every word. She prays for him, but tells reporters she wishes he'd never been born. December 2nd, 2:48 p.m. Pablo's final mistake. His son calls about reaching Germany. The embassy might accept bribes. Pablo should limit the call to 30 seconds. But Juan Pablo is crying, begging for help. Pablo can't hang up on his terrified child. 1 minute passes, 2 minutes, 5, 10. At 14 minutes and 23 seconds, Centra Spike achieves perfect triangulation, the exact building in the second floor. Colonel Martinez dispatches everything: ground units, helicopters, snipers. Pablo doesn't hear them coming. He's promising Juan Pablo they'll be together by New Year's Eve. 3 p.m. The first breach. Search block storms the front door as Pablo finally hears the danger. He drops the phone. Juan Pablo hears gunfire, screaming, his father shouting, "Limon, the window!" They crash through glass onto the roof. Pablo is barefoot, wearing jeans and a blue shirt. He weighs 240 pounds, can barely run. Limon sprints ahead, firing wildly at helicopters. 3 bullets hit him simultaneously: chest, neck, and head. He drops 12 feet from Pablo. Now Pablo is alone on the tiles, surrounded by riflemen on every adjacent roof. He raises his Sig Sauer, manages 2 shots before bullets tear into his leg and torso. He staggers, still trying to aim. Sergeant Hugo Aguilar, on a roof 40 meters away, centers his Galil rifle's crosshairs on Pablo's head. The fatal shot enters above Pablo's right ear at 3:15 and 47 seconds p.m. The photo, search block posing with Pablo's corpse like hunters with trophy game, reaches Washington before Pablo's family learns he's dead. Colombia's government declares victory. 25,000 mourners attend his funeral while officials celebrate. But within 6 weeks, something becomes clear. Pablo's death changed nothing. The Cali cartel absorbs his roots overnight. Cocaine flow to America increases 30% by 1994. The drug war didn't end. It got worse. And the person who betrayed Pablo, they're still alive, identity protected by both Colombian and U.S. intelligence. Declassified DEA documents reveal it was one of Pablo's most trusted sicarios, someone who knew every safe house, every escape route, every habit. After Pablo murdered Galeano and Moncada in La Catedral, this insider watched other lieutenants disappear and realized he was next. He contacted Los Pepes with an offer: Pablo's head for safe passage and reward money. Every detail Los Pepes knew, every perfectly timed raid, came from someone who sat at Pablo's table. The phone calls Pablo made to his family weren't just tracked by technology. Someone was telling the hunters exactly when he'd be vulnerable, when he'd stay on too long, when his guard would drop. In the end, the person who destroyed Pablo Escobar wasn't an enemy. It was one of his own killers, choosing survival over loyalty.